Okay, class, we're going to go over box and whisker plots. Now, a lot of this information you should have learned last year, and so this should be a good review, but we do need to remember these things because we are going to be looking more into detail on MAD, which is mean absolute deviation. And so let's go over some vocab words here. There are quite a few of them. A box and whisker plot is basically a graphic display of the median, quartiles, and extremes. And so then we're going to look at what each one of those are. So the upper quartile, or we call it UQ, is the median of the greater numbers. So you're going to have to find the median, and then the upper would be the median of those upper numbers, and then the lower would be the median of the lower numbers. The interquartile range is the difference between the upper and lower quartiles. So this word range means that we're going to subtract. So we're going to take this number and subtract this number to get the answer of the interquartile range. Therefore, down here I've added a new word, range, just to remind you that that's the difference between the large and the small number. So we take the large and subtract the small. All right, let's look at our extremes. The upper extreme is the largest number in a set of data, and the lower extreme is the smallest number in a set of data. And then, of course, we have these two vocab words that you should be very familiar with. The mean is the average. That's where we add them all the numbers we have, and then divide by how many numbers there are. And the median is just the middle number in an ordered set of data. It's really important that you make sure it's ordered, either from least to greatest or greatest to least. Generally, we do least to greatest. Okay. So we have an example here. We're going to actually end up drawing a box and whisker plot. But before we can actually just draw our lines and put things here, we have to have all of the information needed to go on our graph. So here's our example, Zeke's soccer team scores. And there they are. This is where we're going to actually draw our box and whisker plot, but we do need to write some steps. So here it says the first step, find the median. It's the first step. We always find the median. Once we have found the median, we find the upper and lower quartiles and the extremes. Okay, so we're going to have to find all of these things before we can actually draw that graph. Okay, so down here we're going to use this space to find all of this information. First we're going to find the median, then the lower quartiles and the upper quartile, and then the lower extreme and the upper extreme. Okay, and as we said here, to find the median, in our definition it said that we had to have an ordered set of data. So I'm going to take these numbers here and I'm going to put them in order from least to greatest. And I like to cross things off as I go. So I'm going to start with this 1, and then I had a 2, and a 3, don't have a 4, so I go to my 5, don't have a 6, but I have a 7, an 8, and a 9. Okay, now that it's ordered from least to greatest, I count 1 from the front and 1 from the back. So boom, boom. And so I'm left with a 5. Now, this is purely review, but let me remind you, if you have two numbers in the middle of the median, then you add those two numbers and divide by 2. So you basically find the mean of the middle numbers. Okay, so over here, our median is 5. Our lower quartile is basically the middle number of the numbers on the bottom. So this is my median, so I kind of draw a line there because it does not belong to either side of data. And so then I count which one is the middle number. Well, this and this, they're already in order, so that means my middle number is the 2. So my lower quartile is the 2. And then up here is my upper set of data. So I cross those off, and that means 8 is my median of the upper, which is my upper quartile. Okay, and then the lower extreme and the upper extreme. The lower extreme is the smallest number in the lowest set of data. So this would be my lower extreme, and 9 would then be my upper extreme. Okay, now that we have all the information we need, we can then go ahead and start to draw our box and whisker plot. Okay, so down here in step 2 it says draw a number line that represents the range. So let me remind you, the range is the lowest number minus the highest number minus the lowest number. So if you look at your upper and lower extremes, you know that you're going to have a graph that starts at least 1 and goes at least up to 9. Now you could have more than 9 on your graph, but you know that it's going to have to at least go to that point. So here's my number line. Now I'm going to go by ones since I only have to go to 9. But remember, you could go by 2s, 5s, as long as you keep it consistent. Okay, so step 3 down here says above the number, let me use that as my abbreviation line, mark points for the extremes, median, and upper and lower quartiles. And so above the number line is where we're doing this, and there's a reason for that. And so we're going to take and we're going to start with our extremes, which is a 1 and a 9. And then we're going to look at our median. So our median was a 5. And then we're going to put a dot for the upper and lower quartiles. So the upper and lower quartiles were 2 and 8. So we put a dot and a dot. Okay, I also like to label these, so I'll do that. I should have done that as I was going, but this is the median, this is the lower extreme, the upper extreme, upper quartile, and the lower quartile. Alright, step 4 says to draw a line that contains the quartiles or I should say quartile values, and a line through the median. Okay, so what I mean by that is if I go up here, I'm going to draw a line that contains the quartiles. So you'll know that this is your quartile and this is your quartile. So I'm just going to draw a line through it like this. And it also has to have a line through the median like this. Okay, and to connect those lines, because this is where the box part comes in of our box and whisker, I'm going to connect my line all the way through and actually make this a box. And so now you can see that there's a box with this information being between the lower quartile and the median, and this information being between the median and the upper quartile. And so that's our box. Now our whiskers come into step 5 where it says extend the whiskers from each quartile to the extremes. Okay, so up here at our picture, here's our quartile. We just extend our line there, and we extend our line there, and you now have your whiskers. So we have our box and whisker plot for this information set of data. Okay, so let's move on to the back page where it says practice reading and creating box and whisker plots. And so it's really important that you understand how to read them. This is where a lot of our mean absolute deviation is going to come in. And so we're going to do this first example here together. And it says that we're going to use the box and whisker plot above to answer the following questions. So we want to know what is the median for Team A and Team B. And let me remind you that this middle number right here is the median, so this line is our median. That's why I labeled them on this side so you had a quick view of what each one were. So the median for Team A would be 3. And the median for Team B would be 7. Okay, so I've labeled those for you. I want you to take a minute now and find the upper extremes and the lower quartile for A and B on both of these graphs. Okay, so for the upper extremes, Team A, remember, the upper extreme was this right here. And then for B, it would have been here. And so we've listed those. The lower quartile, lower would be this number right here. So this one on this graph, and we've listed it. Okay, and that's that example. Remember, that's just reading it. So now I'm going to leave you to do this one on your own, creating this box and whisker plot. Use your information from the previous page if you cannot remember what it is you're looking for or trying to do. Follow those steps, but I want you to create a box and whisker plot for these numbers right here. And don't forget, you have to find some important things first. You need to find the median, the upper and lower extremes, and the upper and lower quartiles. And come back to find your answers. Okay, welcome back. Here are your answers. So you'll notice I put in order from least to greatest, and then I found the 5 things I needed to be able to graph. And here is the graph. I'll quickly label these for you. This was my median. This was my upper quartile, my upper extreme, my lower quartile, and my lower extreme. And I just put a dot on each one and then drew my box and my whisker. Okay, if you have any questions, come with them tomorrow. Don't forget to do your WSQ.